So what is going on with the beef industry as a whole right now?
The big guys have a smaller herd than we've ever had in America, at least for the past 50 years. And that's a problem. Not only is the herd small now, that means the herd is going to be smaller for the next couple of years.
Why is the herd smaller?
I actually, to be perfectly honest with you, Robert, I don't get it. The reasons I hear across the news sound fishy to me. Current labeling regulations for meat mean that product of USA only has to be cut and packaged here. I want to say it's like 40+% of beef in America comes from South America. If you're eating grass-fed beef that tastes really good, like, oh, this is just like the grain-finished beef. It probably is grain-finished from a different country. That's a dirty secret.
And we are live. Brett, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Robert. Thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, I'm excited to chat with you, man. So how did we get in contact originally? You emailed me or reached out via Instagram or something like that?
I reached out on Instagram, yeah. Looking for influencers who were who were talking about meat, right? Like, hey, we should be eating red meat. So I reached out to you and we started a conversation.
Well, I feel like anybody listening to this podcast is a fan of red meat for sure. So you're in good company.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, but you sent me some samples. I actually ate, you sent me 2 ribeyes, and I ate both those ribeyes on Squirrel Camp weekend. We went down to the family farm for Squirrel Camp, and everybody was eating squirrel, and I'm eating freaking ribeyes. So I came out ahead, I think.
Nice. That's probably the best advertising you could ever have done for us, too.
Exactly.
Squirrel.
Exactly.
Nice.
So give me the behind the scenes, man. Like, what is Homestead Meat Company? What are they doing differently? Just kind of to tee it up for you, man. I get asked all the time about like, where do I get my beef? Because I got like 3 or 4 chest freezers, and I typically buy in bulk because I know local farmers and ranchers, and that's just the way to go.
Yeah.
And you're doing something unique because you're selling in bulk, which is awesome.
Nice. Yeah. So to back up a little bit, I have 7 kids now. We actually just had our 7th about a month ago.
Wow. We can talk about that too. That's a handful.
Sure. Right. And 5 of those are boys. I don't know about you, but I remember being a teenager and eating like everything I could see all the time I was a teenager. So my brother and my dad and I were looking at buying a business. We kind of narrowed in on the beef industry because I knew I wanted to have access to clean beef just for my family, right? That's where this all began, was like, I'm going to get eaten out of house and home if I try to go buy good beef from somewhere else, right? We have little farms. We were thinking about running a couple head of cow in there, but we haven't gotten there yet. We'll get there eventually. Anyway, so that's what started it. And so when we bought this meat processing plant, we found a meat processor there in southern Missouri, in Jackson, Missouri, if anybody's here in the area. Just north of Springfield, or north of Cape Girardeau. What am I talking about? Not north of Springfield, north of Cape Girardeau. And so we bought the place, and we saw cool operations. Been in business for 25 years. Former owner just wanted to retire. He's in his 70s, right? He was like, "Yeah, I'm tired, right? I'm ready to be done." But we kept his staff. He's still on as a consultant. So we kept all his recipes, kept all the good stuff, right? Crucially, kept all of his relationships with the farmers. So we worked with about 300 farmers and ranchers all around in southern Missouri. Really, really high quality beef. Apparently, we're getting some of the, apparently Missouri is one of the top beef producing states in the country, which I did not know before I got into this business, right? I would have guessed Texas and Colorado or something, but Missouri is up there with them. And what we found was we started talking to customers or potential customers, and we heard 2 consistent themes. One was people don't buy bulk because they don't have freezer space. I mean, Robert, you mentioned you have 3 chest freezers, right? And usually if you're buying a half beef, you're storing hundreds of pounds of beef, right? And so like for a long time, right? 6 months to a year often, and depending on how much you eat, right? So people say, I don't have freezer space. That's one reason I don't buy in bulk. And the other one is, to buy in bulk, you got to know a guy, right? If you don't know a farmer or a rancher, then you're buying from the grocery store or a butcher shop if you're lucky, right? And so we said, okay, let's put something together where we can be the guy you know, right? We'll be the, you know a guy, okay, you know us, and we'll be the know a guy, right? We already have relationships with these ranchers, these 200 ranchers. They're raising their cows on farms. They're not in like concrete stock yards, right? They're on rolling hills of southern Missouri, right? Beautiful farmers, beautiful farming land, beautiful countryside. Farmers might be beautiful too. I don't know. I don't have, but I misspoke. But it's clean, it's healthy, it's local, right? It's a whole bunch of preservatives. We don't spray it with acid and then wrap it in plastic immediately, so it gets a plastic soup for your meat, right? We don't do any of that nonsense. So that was the first bid. So we can be the guy you know to get a hold of the bulk beef. So you don't have to know a guy anymore. And the second piece we said was, hey, let's offer this bulk rate in a smaller quantity. So most people can handle about 1/8 of the beef in their freezer. That's 50-ish pounds, if my memory serves, of beef. And you can get 50 pounds in a freezer or drawer, right? Like a standard freezer. So it's not, it's a lot of beef still, but it's not like going to overwhelm you.
Overwhelming, yeah.
So we said, hey, if we're organizing this anyway, I can put 8 customers together, split the beef on our end, and ship you an 8th every 3 months. And, what's an 8 times 4? Well, you're up to your half again. So you sell by half cow at once, we'll give you an 8th every 3 months. Works out the same for us. We just do some of the sorting, the matching of customers and stuff together. And people have to have a big freezer, then I have to know a guy. So that was what this whole thing was. How can you get beef, clean beef? And we do hogs too. So clean beef and pork, right? We do half hogs and whole hogs. But how do we get those like good, wholesome, healthy food to families, right? Because that was the whole start. I wanted healthy food for my family. How do we sell healthy food to other people's families? So how do we do that? Well, let's solve the problem of not enough freezer space and not knowing a guy. So that was kind of the germ for it. It was like, how can we build a product that I would have bought, a year ago, 6 months ago.
I love it, man. I mean, you're solving a big problem that people have right there for sure. When y'all took over the processing plant, what was the name of that one again?
Rice Meat.
Okay, Rice Meat. And so they were doing processing in-house, like it was a processing facility?
Yeah. And actually, we left the old website up because it's a well-known name. So you guys want to see the old website, ricemeat.com, if I remember right. It's the ricemeat.com. It'll take you there. But so it's an in-house processor, and they also produce sausages and jerky and snack sticks and a bunch of things. But we do actually do the slaughter. So we bring in cows and pigs and kill them and cut them up and turn them into cuts of meat and sausages and all that kind of stuff.
I feel like that's because I've had a few people on the podcast that are in the, quality beef industry market.
Yeah.
And it seems that the common bottleneck that people face is, having a solid processing plant to go through, especially if they're smaller scale, because they've got to get it scheduled. And if they're doing like grass finish, for instance, it takes a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
And these big processing facilities kind of have like the monopoly on things. There's not that many of them.
Yeah.
So they'll typically wait for the conventional farming operations to bring their head in. And then the small local rancher is pretty much out of luck until it's convenient for the processor.
That's very true. And that's one thing. It's good and bad for us, but on the good for us side, a lot of other processors, when we were talking to customers, people were 2 years out. Cow hadn't even been born yet. They'd already bought their half beef from this cow, right?
Wow.
Right, because exactly you're talking about the scheduling problem. We're not that scheduled. We're scheduled about 2 months out right now, and we're trying to stay, 3. We want to be 3 to 6 months scheduled if we can. But that's exactly right, because the little processors, if you have. Well, let me back up. I was talking the other day with a pet food company. I was saying, hey, ways we can sell the stuff that people don't want to eat for pet food. I said, yeah, we're up for that. But scale that really makes that make sense is when you're killing 1,500 to 6,000 head a day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We slaughter 75 a week on a good week. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the scale of the operation. Right? So the big beef operations are doing, 100 times more cows than we are. They're doing 1,500 to 6,000 a day. We're doing 75 a week, right? It's like orders of magnitude bigger. And so, if you're a family farm, you don't set the pace on those kind of facilities, right? Like maybe you get in, maybe you don't. And so, you come to a facility more like ours. We're in kind of a middle ground. There's a bunch of really big processors, like that processor I was just talking about, the 6,000 a day. They're in Colorado, right? I think they're near Greeley, Colorado, is where we were talking about. There's also these microprocessors that do like 1 cow a quarter, right? This is almost a butcher or a meat cutter coming to your farm and doing it on your farm for you, right?
And with those, though, they're not going to have a USDA rep on site with something like that. So that's when it's not for human consumption.
Precisely.
Basically.
Yeah, legally, you're not supposed to eat that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we're in that middle ground where we're doing. We're a good size operation. I've been in business for a long time, right? Have 16 employees. So we're like that scale, right? It's definitely still a small business. I'm not, challenging Walmart or anything, but we're stable, right? Consistent. So we were Missouri state inspected, and that's that middle ground. So there's a state ag inspection that can come in. So it's fit for human consumption. We can sell in all 50 states. The difference is we can't sell to retail across state lines. Now, this is different a little bit state to state. So I don't know how Arkansas or Kansas or Illinois handle this, but Missouri regulations at least say we can sell direct to consumers anywhere in the country, but we can't sell to stores anywhere outside of Missouri. And that's the difference between Missouri state inspected and USDA inspected. So we actually have Missouri ag inspectors come in every day we do slaughter All of our slaughters are under inspection. I mean, we have some exempt ones that we can have that are specialty exempt slaughter. That's a whole scenario. But like, generally speaking, there's somebody from the Missouri Ag Department who's at our facility making sure we're doing it clean and healthy and good. I actually we're working towards the USDA certification so we can sell. That opens up some other opportunities for us. But I actually like working in the Missouri State Ag Department rather than the USDA. They are way more
100%,
helpful.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
when you start bringing in governmental bureaucratic power, like it's just red tape and minutia, and
Yes.
you're stepping in cow manure, metaphorically every day.
Yes. Well, and by contrast, like, look, we have a gal named Sarah who's assigned to our facility, who's there all the time. We know her boss. The department's like 8 people. We've talked to all of them. If there's a problem, they let us know. We work through it together, right? It's like, because they're Missouri State people, right? They're local. I want to say Sarah lives 45 minutes up the road from us, right? So it's like, it's very much, they're embedded in our community like we are, and we all want to succeed, right? When I'm doing a USDA conversation, now, I have not been USDA certified, so I have to caveat this a little bit. Maybe it'll be wonderful, right? But what I hear from my colleagues is that, like, you dealing with the USDA, the incentives are different. The
Yeah.
local responsibility is just not there, and so it's a different. Yeah.
And realistically, man, I mean, I don't know the cattle industry from a business standpoint
Mm-hmm.
at all, really, just from what I've heard hearsay. But I would imagine, going direct to consumers, what we do with the keto bricks, and like I prefer that because you have direct communication with your customer base. Any issues they have, you're made aware of, and you do right by them. Whereas if you were to get USDA and then target, retail for wholesale sales,
Mm-hmm.
then you've got to go through a distributor that's going to cut into your margins. You're not going to have a direct point of communication with the end user. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that's much less fulfilling and probably way more headache.
Hey.
You get more volume, but I mean, I don't know that it's worth it.
Yeah, and honestly, to do the higher volume is at lower margin. So sometimes it's a lot less headache, and it's a lot more fulfilling, like you said, to do a smaller number of higher value customers, because we don't have to get that distributor cut. We can sell to the consumer at a good price and still make more money, right? It's kind of better for everybody except the distributor.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
with you. I will say, from an industry perspective, it's been a wild ride in the past 6 months. I don't know if you've been watching the price of beef, but it has.
I've seen a little bit of it. I mean, just kind of bring us up to speed on that. So what is going on with the beef industry as a whole right now?
Yeah. So, funnily enough, our scale isn't affected as much as the big guys, right? So, like, our guys, we're working with local farmers, and so our costs and their costs are dependent on the cost of inputs and then what we can sell it for to consumers. So we're actually relatively sheltered from this, but even we get affected by the price swings of the big guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the big guys have a smaller herd than we've ever had in America, at least for the past 50 years, right? The herd is much smaller than it used to be. And that's a problem, it's a demographic problem, right? So not only is the herd small now, that means the herd is going to be smaller for the next couple of years until it rebuilds, right?
And why is the herd smaller? Is there like any definitive reason for that?
That's the part I've been struggling to figure out. I hear different things. They're kind of contradictory, right? That there were like incentives to cut it down, that there were more regulations. Again, the regulations aren't hitting us because we're not on the USDA side, right? Cost of feed has fluctuated. Another from some of that. And we do see that with our local guys, that the cost of feed has gone up a little bit. We've heard some of that. For the grass-fed guys, when it's straight pasture, I mean, that is less of a concern, right? But I keep hearing, I actually, to be perfectly honest with you, Robert, I don't get it. I don't know why the herd is so much smaller, because the reasons I hear across the news sound fishy to me, right? Like, this doesn't pass the sniff test. I suspect, I had nothing to prove, but I suspect that foreign imports have something to do with it. There's a dirty little secret. It's been going around podcasts, so I'm sure all your listeners have already heard this, but just to reiterate, current labeling regulations for meat mean that product of USA only has to be slaughtered here. It doesn't have to ever live here. Right? It only has to be cut and packaged here, actually. It doesn't have to be slaughtered here. You can have a cow that's product of USA that has never breathed air in the North American continent, right?
I mean, it technically goes as far as, like, if you freaking put it in a cellophane wrap and then just slap a sticker on it, that is technically
product of USA.
Product of the USA, which is incredibly misleading.
Incredibly misleading. And I suspect there's some shenanigans going on with our foreign beef partners. And what I
Mhm.
want to say, it's like 40+% of beef in America is sold. It comes from South America, right? It's
Primarily Brazil, I believe, right?
Brazil, some from Argentina, but a lot from Brazil. Yeah. Some from Uruguay. But yeah, Brazil is the big one. So anybody on podcast who cares about the rainforest, yeah, look out, because you cut down the rainforest to grow Brazilian beef, and then they ship it up here, right?
Mhm.
Um, I'm not particularly. I think it's cool to conserve the natural environment. I wouldn't call myself an environmentalist, but if anybody cares about that, that's what happens, right?
Mhm.
And I want to point out that too, that's especially troublesome with labels. So I personally am not a huge fan of grass-fed beef, because unless you have a specific breed of cow that really does well on grass, grass-fed beef tastes like dirt, right? So you have to really you need to have a farmer who knows what they're doing to do grass-fed well. Otherwise, you just get
Mhm.
nasty beef, right? And again, if a wrong breed of cow, they take a longer time to mature. They're stringier. They're just, the flavor's not there. It's so if they do it really well, the right breeds of cow, the right genetics, awesome. Otherwise, no. But worse, do you think Brazil or Uruguay or Argentina gives a darn what that cow actually ate before they threw a sticker on it?
No,
No,
probably not.
probably not, right? So if you're eating grass-fed beef that tastes really good, like, oh, this is just like the grain finished beef, or great grass finished, I should say. This tastes exactly like grain finished. It probably is grain finished from a different country. Right?
Mhm.
That's a dirty secret, right, in the industry. That there's just like,
And I've had Will Harris on the podcast. I've interacted with him. I spoke at
mhm,
his conference, and it's like, he brought up the point of greenwashing, and with all these labeling requirements, and you see this a lot in the poultry industry,
mhm,
but pretty much in everything now. These people are labeling things that are, targeting buzzwords that the ignorant consumer is willing to pay more for, but it's kind of degrading what the true value of, a grass finished, well managed herd is actually doing. And then on another token, you've got people that are, local farmers and ranchers that are doing everything correctly, but they're not going to spend the amount necessary to have that, certified USDA grass finished label on there, because they know their stuff is that,
mhm.
but to them it makes no difference to spend the much more, because they're oftentimes, because of the processing bottleneck, they're having to send theirs through the conventional, slaughtering houses anyway. So they don't really have a reason to go that route.
It was heartbreaking to me. My banker there in Jackson, Missouri, we work with a local bank down there. And our banking representative, he raises cows. His family raised beef for 4 or 5 generations, I want to say. And they're like an old ranching family, right? Cow or farming family. And they ship their stuff to, I think it's Dodge City. I was like, guys, we're right here. What are you talking about, right? And so we're trying to make that, close that gap, because it's exactly like
Mhm.
you're exactly right. They put it in on a rail and send it up, like we've been doing for since cowboys, basically.
Mhm.
Cattle drive to Kansas City and then it goes to the stockyards in Chicago. That's still kind of sort of how it works a lot of the time. And so you lose out. I mean, exactly like that. We're not, one of the things we want to do, we're not there yet, but one of the things we want to get to is where we can just say, here's a picture of the farm where the beef came from, right? We don't want a picture of Bessie, because that gets people a little squeamish, right? but
Mhm.
but a picture of, here's the ground that this cow lived on, right? Here's the pasture they eat from. Here's what the barn looks like. Um, and so you can just see, oh, here's the type of beef I'm eating, right?
Mhm.
Now, even that can be gamed. I'm not gonna say that's gonna be perfect, right? We're not gonna lie to people. We'll take actual pictures of the farm from this ranch, right? But I'd like to get to the point where we can say, you're buying a quarter beef, and this quarter beef came from Peterson Farms in Fredericktown, Missouri. Here's the 42 acres, 30 acres of woods, and 12 acres of pasture. Here's the beef, right?
Mhm.
Um, so to get there, one of the things we did when we came in was put in a new computer tracking system. And we were just updating the technology, right? And it sounds like it's such a small thing, but as we're implementing that, it gives us that traceability. So we can say, this customer got this cow from this farm. Here's the spreadsheet. Here's the picture of the sheep. The insert on the package that will go there. Again, we're not there quite yet. That's one of my goals for this next year, for Q1, basically. But that's, for us, the label locally raised means a lot more than grass fed, because
I agree.
that can be gamed, right? Well,
Yeah.
and let's go and I don't mean, I'm not anti grass fed, so I'm sorry if I'm harping on this, but like, it's really frustrating to me when I talk to people and they're like, well, is it grass fed? So, well, yes, it was raised on a pasture. They ate grass. It
Mm-hmm.
was grass fed. Do you mean it was grass finished? Because that's a very different thing, right?
Yeah, grass fed, like as a term, is pretty much it means nothing really.
Exactly. Yeah, it's bunk. So grass finished has a very different meaning. So your listeners again probably already know this, but in the life cycle of a cow is raising cow, and I gotta be very clear. I'm relatively new to this industry. I was a tech guy before I bought into this, so this is I'm still a babe in the cradle compared to the real cattlemen who've done this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, from their cradles, right? But as I understand it, a cow is born and raised on a pasture, usually during the winter, or some other times they'll supplement with hay or alfalfa, sometimes with some grain. But right before they're ready for slaughter, you feed them, you grain finish them, you feed them a lot of grain, so they bulk up and get a lot of fat. And you want that fat to, like, for the marbling, for the flavor in the beef, right? Is what I heard.
Plus, they get a better price on the cattle
I get
because it
red
weighs.
price on the cattle too, but it also does increase, like, truly does increase the flavor. I had a
Okay.
cattleman who was talking to me about it at a presentation with the ag extension from the University of Missouri, from Mizzou. And he was describing how our beef is considered sweet in a lot of parts of the world because we grain finish in a certain way, right? We feed the grain the last, I want to say it's like 3 to 6 months of the cow's life. And they bulk up and grain finish. And that's where you get really nice marbling, right? In the sinks. When you don't, okay, go.
Is there a way to? I don't mean to totally derail you. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
this is
go ahead.
kind of in line with what you're saying, but is there a way to differentiate the types of grains that are being finished on? Like we're about to get pigs this weekend,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm gonna, get grain for the pigs. They're gonna eat a lot of natural forage as well. But I've found a supplier for a non-GMO,
Mhm.
non-soy grain that I can feed them. Is there a way to kind of differentiate the types of grains that people are finishing them on?
I've had that question once before as well. It's yes, but not yet is the short answer. So the only way you can do that, farmers are ranchers, especially beef industry and pigs, have already been squashed this way. So like the hog industry in eastern United States has been. We'll talk about that a little bit later because it's tragic actually what's happened to pigs. But farmers get squished on their cost of inputs and their how long it takes the cow to grow before they can sell it, right?
Mhm.
And so this is what leads to, sometimes you hear about farmers killing their animals and just, I mean, not being able to sell it at all, right? Just like sending it off to a renderer for the cost of the rendering, right? Because at some point, keeping the cow too long means it costs you more to feed it and house it in, winter or whatever. To make sure it has shots and medicine or whatever it needs to, or keep it healthy. That's more expensive than the value of the beef coming out of it. And farmers again have been doing this for a long time, and so they've got that dialed in pretty hard, right? So why do I bring this up? I bring this up because there are strong market incentives to not use anything but the cheapest feed you can that gets the job done. So if that's GMO soybeans, a lot of times in pigs especially, it's usually GMO soybeans, right? That's the lowest cost feed you're gonna get. I mean, if you really get to, again, the pig industry, sometimes hogs are fed. I don't want to turn people's stomachs. Sometimes hogs are fed really nasty stuff, like really nasty stuff.
Sometimes hogs are fed dead hogs.
Sometimes often hogs are fed their own excrement. Like
Yeah,
the hogs poop and that gets, drained a little bit and then fed back to them, right? Like several
yeah.
times. In our current US pork,
Mhm.
right? Um, anyway, so there's market pressures to push it down. So the only way you can get around that is if you can have, like, let the farmer and ultimately the farmer command a higher price for a different type of animal, right?
Mhm.
So if the farmer can say, I'm not going to feed my cow GMO wheat, right? Or GMO corn, then, and that's going to cost an extra, dollar a pound to feed or whatever. I don't know the price on the feed side. Uh, then they've got to recoup that somehow. Otherwise, they're just going out of business, right?
Right.
That's just what's going to happen. So, on the one hand, I mean, I've just spent 20 minutes railing about labeling, but labels have a good purpose because if somebody wants to pay for non-GMO grain finished cows, I mean, that is valuable, right? And so we need to be able to recompense the farmer so they can stay in business doing that, right? They need to be rewarded for that if we value that as consumers. So, remember that computer system I was talking about earlier where you can trace
Mhm.
the farm? That's one of the reasons we want to do that, is so we can say, hey, this particular farm is only doing non-GMO feed. And so if you want a non-GMO feed, and there's an additional cost for that for the beef, but if you want that, then we can offer it as a product, right? We can have it. It's no problem for us to have it as a SKU. That's not the issue. And we can slaughter it. We're not going to contaminate it in our slaughterhouse because, again, we're not doing crazy stuff with plastics anyway, right? But we got to be able to reward the farmer for that to be plausible for the consumer. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I feel like that will be the best. I mean, is anybody else doing that traceability that you're doing?
Not that I know of. There probably is somebody.
That's your tech background coming in handy, right?
What's that?
That's your tech background coming in handy, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. I spent about 15 years as a product manager in software and hardware. So I did everything from pet food to medical software to one time I had a project we were doing the loyalty program for Botox. So you buy 10 Botox, get one free. We did the software that handled all that. Like random stuff, but a lot of tech stuff. So yeah, coming in and saying, okay, this is never going to be a tech company. I don't want it to be a tech company, right? But having a little bit of traceability, having good data flow, as we can say, okay, this cow from Bessie from Johnson's farm is now going to Robert Sikes, and here's the things that Robert can count on from Peterson Farms.
I think that'll be a game changer, man, because then you're able to. I mean, the processing component of it, like that's going to be pretty much the same across the board. But because you're the scale that you are, there's not going to be hundreds of thousands of cattle, in a feedlot scenario. Like it's going to be much more pleasant from a cow's livelihood standpoint in the processing final chapter. And then from a consumer standpoint, they'll have complete traceability as to, if they want to target one of your local ranchers that is doing non-GMO, non-soy feed, they can do that. If they're doing a grass finished one, they can do that. And it's complete, transparency on your end. And then since you have that traceability, you'll be able to charge accordingly for where it's coming from. So the farmer's going to come out ahead from a cost standpoint. This is exciting, man. I think this is what the industry needs for sure.
Thanks. Well, and with that, it's kind of nice too because it's a good flywheel, right? The snowball rolls down the hill. It's let's say we have 10 people who want grass finished cows, and we only have 3 cows available, so we don't have enough cows right that instant for grass finished quarters, right? For all those customers. When we put things on the waiting list, then I can go to another farmer and say, hey, or I can go to that same rancher and say, hey, I have more demand than you can supply. Have more cows next time, right? Raise more cows, and people like what you like, what you're doing. I'm paying you for it. Grow, right? Or I can go to another rancher and say, hey, look, I got 20 people on a waiting list for a grass finished cow. It's only gonna get worse. Can you do 20 head grass finished this year, right? Because we're close enough to the ranchers, we can have that conversation. We can say, hey, we like what you do. Your cows come in, consistently choice or higher, right? Or select or higher or whatever, right? We're usually halfway between prime and choice. I think those are the ones we usually get.
Did you define the differences there for somebody that may not know?
Yeah. So again, this is where a little bit of my expertise is not showing. So lack of expertise is showing. But basically, when USDA certified slaughter happens, the USDA categorizes beef at a certain quality level. And that's going to be defects or abnormalities in the cow. So the lack of those makes it higher quality. The amount of fat and marbling in the cow is higher quality. Just the general health of the cow. And that shows up when you cut it open, right? I mean, frankly, you can see the whole life story of the cow is right there when you cut it open, right? And so they can grade, that's where the grades come from. So when you see a USDA prime steak, that's come from a cow that was rated prime, right? And because it matched these characteristics, it was healthy, it had so much fat percentage, it has so much density of muscle, that kind of stuff, right? Like it was a healthy cow. And it goes, prime is the top one, if I remember correctly. I think it's prime, choice, and select, if memory serves. We're Missouri certified, so I can't legally claim, we're not legally those things. But when we bring our cows, a lot of our farmers, our best farmers, come in, and they're about a 50-50 split when they send them to Dodge City and stuff between prime and choice, the one right below it. So they so high quality, but you'll get differences. Consistently, we'll see ranchers who raise their cows in a really good way will get consistently higher grades. Now you can't force it because every cow is different, right? You can't guarantee only prime. But if you're getting 50% or more prime every year, for 40 years, you're doing something right. And that's very different than somebody who gets 50% select every year for 50 years. You're right. I mean,
Mm.
there's clear trends, right? And so again, then we have that traceability. We can lead people to that and say, hey, this is the higher quality farm. They just have this is a higher quality meat that carries a higher price, right? I mean, we got to pay for that. That's not no free lunch, right? But at least you
Totally.
can know. That's a lot better than walking to a grocery store and picking up a steak that says select, right? Or choice or prime, whatever you pick, and having no idea what the farm was. And sorry, Robert, I've been on a little rants, but can I have one more?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Have you heard about protein glue, casein glue?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But elaborate. This will be interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things that drives me crazy, just makes my blood boil, is you can buy a steak in the store. And again, remember how I said the steak is not rated prime? It's the animal that's rated prime.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the animal is rated prime. And how you cut the animal depends on the size and shape of the steaks. So you can cut it different ways and get different cuts. Some cuts are mutually exclusive, right? In fact, give me just a second. I'll pull up a sheet here. Because I haven't been doing, yeah. So because I haven't been doing this for 50 years, I still have cheat sheets, right? But let's say you cut, so the ways you cut the different steaks and loins and all the different pieces, right? Some of those are mutually exclusive. So point is, sometimes you get little leftover ends, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you're cutting specialty cuts that require this and leave this part off. But what do you do with this little part? Well, either you can throw it away, and that's stupid, right? Or you can sell it as a extra little cut. But who's going to buy 4 ounces of half of a tenderloin or something, right? That'd be a little
Mm-hmm.
bit weird. So some less scrupulous processors say we'll just take something called protein glue and glue that bit of steak with other bits of steak into a new steak, right? How great. And technically, it is still all the cow. The protein glue comes from the protein in the cow. I guess that's still beef. Technically, I think it's dirty as heck, right?
I have not. Of course, I haven't bought steak from like Walmart in eons. But I mean, are you even able to differentiate? Like, can you tell as a consumer, oh, this steak has been piecemealed together with some glue?
Yeah. When you start cooking it, it falls apart. That's going
Uh,
on. So if you have a steak that just like comes apart into pieces or it turns into mush, it's protein glue. Um,
yeah.
yeah. The most unscrupulous ones are like, hey, you know how plywood works?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that with meat and glue too, right? Um, and right? Like I have nothing against hamburger, but I want called hamburger when it's hamburger, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so
It's unfortunate, man.
yeah,
It's very unfortunate.
it makes my blood boil. That's for the record. That is something we absolutely vehemently do not do, right? Like I am utterly opposed to that. Um, yeah. The other one that gets people in trouble, and this one actually gets people on the high end in trouble. I want to say there was a study with Trader Joe's recently. The Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, where somebody went through and said, well, how many microplastics are in processing? And this one wasn't malicious. This is just a product of how things go. When you cut beef, you have to let it hang in a freezer for at least 48 hours. But usually, I mean, we try to go for at like 2 weeks is our target.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a whole bunch of benefits for doing that, right? It ages a little bit, but it also lets make sure there's nothing wrong with it. If there's, again, I don't want to turn people's stomach, but like if there's bugs or stuff in there, then they freeze, right? It gives you time to take care of some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're not doing that. You're not hanging a cow for 6 weeks if you're killing 6,000 a day, right?
Right.
Or 2 weeks if you're killing 6,000 a day. This doesn't work. And so one of the things you do in the processing as a quick step is you spray it with acid to clean it off. And that kills a lot of pathogens. Doesn't hurt people. It's like imagine you sprayed it with vinegar, right? Similar
Mm-hmm.
level of acid, right? Um, so you spray it down and then we spray it down, let it hang, and then we put it into our freezer, right? But the big processors spray it down and immediately package it into plastic. Well, that acid hasn't had time to evaporate or fall off or go anywhere in that process, right? So now you've got acid sitting on meat in plastic. Well, what that really is a plastic marinade for your beef,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you see plastic packaging from a large processor, they're super, super high in microplastics, right? And I'm sure your audience knows microplastics are not good, right? You don't want microplastics in the body. That's real bad. Um, and so unfortunately that hits the higher end stores more than the lower end guys. Like if you go to a butcher and it's wrapped in paper, it's never been probably doesn't have microplastics on it, right? But if you go to a big processor, even a big processor is doing like grass finished or a specialty product, right? You're probably going to get a lot of those microplastics in there. So be careful when you're buying. If you're buying from a big processor and you're buying in a plastic package, plastic packaging, for the record, saves hundreds of millions of lives a year. I'm not against plastic packaging as a general principle, right? That is not the problem. Throwing acid in plastic with food at the same time can be a problem, right? So when we heard about that, again, we hang for 2 weeks, so we don't have that much of a problem, right? That's not an issue.
And you'll spray before you hang. So, I mean, it's any acidity is totally, negligible at that point.
Yeah, it's well, and frankly, there's time for it to run off, right, and just be gone. It's not wet when we're packaging it because it's hanging in a freezer for 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just one thing to watch out for, even on really good processors who are just doing really high volume that don't have the time to let it hang. That's a disadvantage, right? And again, that's not malice. That was just like we've only recently discovered that as an industry that's part of one of our processing steps is adding this microplastic issue. And I think the big processors are working through it, but that was one that's not evil. Just that was a hazard we didn't catch until I want to say it was like earlier this year, right? And then it's like July when somebody did that study and figured out, they traced it down step by step, like, here's where the plastic's coming in, sprayed by acid, packaged in plastic. So that's a piece. On the good news, I've had a lot of downer things on the industry, but I want to mention one. Do you remember the pink slime scare?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So the guy I got about the company from, his name is Revis. That's one that makes him mad because pink slime is bone marrow. That's it. So have you ever had bone broth soup?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty. I mean, Chinese cooking uses it a lot, right? Like
I like bone marrow. Yeah,
I like bone marrow. I've had bone marrow soup. It's totally fine. My ancestors are from Sweden and England, right, and Switzerland, and they had. I mean, bone marrow is definitely something consumed there a lot. Very healthy way to use all of the animal, right? In a modern processing plant, the way you get at the bone marrow, you're not going to like crack it open and suck out the bone marrow like my grandfather used to do. Right. I remember him eating chicken wings and he'd crack the chicken wing and suck out the inside. I thought that was the nastiest thing. But the way you get to it is you put it in a centrifuge. So you crack the bones and throw them in a centrifuge. And as that spins, the more liquid bone marrow comes out of the bones and comes to the center, and you have that pink slime, right? That's what pink slime is. It's bone marrow.
What was it being? Because I don't even have a TV. I don't watch the news, but I remember people talking about the pink slime. What were they saying that was?
They were saying that it was some kind of crazy additive and just this like nasty industrial goop that was being put into sausages. And it was being put into sausages, but it's not industrial goop. It's bone marrow, right? Okay. That's, And so you got nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's the perfect use for sausages, in my opinion. Like that's what you use sausages for. How do I turn things that are otherwise unappetizing but healthy into things that are appetizing and healthy, right? And sausage is kind of fatty, so I'm not gonna claim sausage is super healthy, but like more healthy than.
No, man, sausage is super healthy.
I love, if you have a chance, try some of our brats. Our brats and snack sticks, I would put up against anybody.
What do y'all do in your brats and stuff, like from a preservative standpoint? What's y'all's stance on that?
Yeah, so again, dirty secret: sausages and cut up meat like that. So processed meat. When you cut it up that small, you're adding surface area, right? So every time you cut up a piece of meat, you're exposing more surface to the air, and every surface to the air picks up bacteria from the air, right? So every time you have a processed meat that's been cut up, so hamburger, sausage, those are the big ones. If you're doing even like something like bacon, it's going to be more than like, if you had a slab of bacon that was pre-cut, there's going to be fewer bacteria in that slab than every slice of bacon, because there's more exposure to the air, right? So when you process meat like that, you have to add some kind of preservative, right? There must be something that keeps it, that kills bugs, that inhibits bacterial growth, that inhibits.
From a legal standpoint, you have to have that.
Legal, health, anything. Unless you want to eat that sausage like that instant, right? You need something that's going to cut down the bacterial growth. So, I mean, that instance, not. We have hamburger, right? You can put in the freezer too. So there's that. But like, sausages are historical, and they come from a tradition where we didn't have refrigeration, right? So what you're doing, you're curing it with salt, usually is how that goes, right? And so sausage are going to have salt. And that's the long and short of it. We use a nitrate salt. we try to have a nitrate that's not as nasty as some of the other nitrates, right? So I have one that's pretty healthy. Is it perfect? No, we're still looking through that one. Like if there's ways we can make that healthier, we're open to it. But ours is not. There's nitrates and there's nitrates, right? One of the things I will say, coming to Homestead Meat Company, one of the things that's really important to me, I actually have a very sensitive stomach. Ironically, I'm also very squeamish. So like me being on the kill floor is I can say, right? But I travel a lot. Or I used to travel a lot. I spent a couple of years abroad in Sweden and Southeast Asia and Africa and all over the place, right? And I like trying new foods, kind of adventurous palate. Like I like exploring new things, right? Unfortunately, that caught up to me about the time I turned 30. And my stomach said, taste buds, you can do all the adventures you want. We're going to throw a fit anytime you do, right? So I'm pretty sensitive when things are off, which is actually, again, one of the reasons we want healthy meat. Because like when we buy meat from Walmart, again, we have 7 kids, we buy meat from Walmart, or we used to buy meat from Walmart, right? When I buy meat from Walmart, it makes me sick pretty much every time. Whether that's sausages, whether that's packaged meat, just I can guarantee I have, again, not TMI, but I'm going to have a quick trip to the bathroom every time we have dinner with meat from Walmart, right? And that's a me problem. I completely understand, right? That's my own stomach, being messed up from traveling and eating weird stuff around the world. That has not been the case with Homestead Meat Company. So like if you put Johnsonville brats on the table with me and our brats, first, I think our brats taste better. But second, there's a difference in quality. These ones don't make me sick. Like ours don't make me sick. And again, I like Johnsonville brats. They're pretty basic, but I grew up eating Johnsonville brats, right? Nothing against them. But they make me ill every time though. So not to get snobby, but that's my personal bellwether. Does this make me sick?
Yeah.
And that's something we've really noticed with just buying beef and pork from Homestead, from our own company, right? Is saying, no, I don't have the same problems. Is it perfect? No.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I eat 5 brats at a sitting, I'm just going to have an issue, right? But like, generally speaking, I'm okay.
Hello, y'all. Robert Sikes, the founder of the Savage Perspective Podcast, the host of the Savage Perspective Podcast. As y'all know, we do not roll ads throughout the podcast. This is not an ad technically, but I'm going to throw it in there just in case. The reason I don't put ads in here is because I don't want y'all to be distracted with minutes and minutes of just irrelevant content for me to make a buck. That's not good for y'all. I don't want to be inauthentic like that. However, I would be remiss if I didn't point y'all towards a great resource. So all of the guests that I bring onto the show are designed to give y'all insight, give you information, give you value that allows you to optimize your health from a ketogenic standpoint. I've built out a resource that takes everything I've learned over the years as a podcast host, as a professional natural bodybuilder, as a coach in the space, and I've compiled all that into a very, very comprehensive system, which also includes a community, a membership community from an accountability standpoint. It's got a ton of resources like a free workout app. It's got a AI that's built out based off of all of my content, so it's not giving you conflicting information. And the program has over 150 videos that breaks down all the details as to how to manipulate your macros, optimize your metabolism, build muscle, lose fat, all the good stuff that y'all are striving to do. And also, since I don't do ads on the podcast, all of the affiliate discount links that I have for various different brands live in this program as well. That literally pays for the cost in and of itself. So if you're interested in doing a deeper dive, actually using these tools and reaching your highest self, check out ketobodybuilding.com.
And a lot of things, a lot of companies that are trying to target the health conscious consumer, they'll throw things in and people that wouldn't know any better are totally clueless to it. Like celery powder is oftentimes used as a preservative, which does have naturally occurring nitrites. But the thing about celery powder is you can't accurately know how much of that nitrate is in that celery powder oftentimes. So you very frequently get a much heftier dose than is necessary.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're actually using a quality nitrite, you can be pretty honed in and to the T with it.
That's exactly right. I think the long and short of it is, are the labels honest? Right? If you're trying to hide stuff in your label, short term, that probably makes some sales, right? There's short term wins there. But long term, it doesn't work, right? So if you're hiding the salts in the celery powder, just be honest. Just tell people. You like or market celery powder as preservative, right? Don't claim that
Mhm.
you're not flavoring the sausage with celery powder. I hope. That's, yeah, just be honest. That that's another thing we're working on and working through. I mentioned we're bringing in some new equipment, bringing in a computer program. One of the pieces of new equipment and we package in plastic too. Again, after it's hung, so we're not getting the nitrate, the acid problem. But one of the things we're working on is just having the better nutrition labels. Right now, we just have the ingredient labels. But one thing I really like about our ingredient labels is all the ingredients on there. It's first, everything's in there. And second, it's really easy to understand. Like pork, our crust
Mhm.
and spice mix, nitrates, we're done. Right. That's it. The labels are pretty clean without us having to hide stuff. Right? 'Cause
Mhm.
one of the things that drew me to Rice Meat and Homestead was it was a family operation. It still is a family operation. It's my dad, my brother, and my old boss. We all went together on to buy the place, right? I
Mhm.
bought it from the Rice and Bickler family, right? Who'd been running it for 25 years, and they bought it from a family guy before them, right? And so there's some sincerity and honesty, and I'll be honest, lack of sophistication. Like there's not 40. We can't handle 40 ingredients, right? Oh,
Mm.
the logistics of that. So we're just making sausages like they should be made because that's simpler and easier and better, right? I feel like our incentive structures are better aligned, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a corporate structure that's saying, let me squeeze an extra penny a pound out of this by swapping out, 10% of the pork fat with ground up beef bones or something. Not that able to
Mhm.
do that. That's an absurd example, but like we're not doing crazy stuff for tiny margins because that's not the where the optimizations for our organization are going to be, right? Our optimizations are going to be traceability and getting direct consumer and that kind of thing, right?
100%, man. Like in business, if you start, penny pinching and cutting corners on cost, it's just a total race to the bottom and nobody wins. Whereas if you
Yeah.
can capitalize on your unique selling point, which for y'all, I believe will be that traceability component,
Mhm.
and at the scale you're at, just double down on that for people, going direct to consumer that value that. I mean, I think you'll be off to the races with that model for sure.
Thanks. I'm open. So yeah, and it's just more fun. I mean, I'd rather work. I worked in pet food, like I said before, and pet food totally was like, hey, let's tweak this recipe
Mhm.
and hope the customers don't know until we get enough complaints that we have to tweak it again, or that we release a new product that's new and improved flavor that really is the old recipe untweaked and now just 40%
Mhm.
more cost, right? I mean, you could do that, but it doesn't feel nice, right? Looking at yourself in the mirror every day afterwards is kind of not as fun, right? It's like
Mhm.
I'd rather, and that's one of the reasons we want to go direct to consumer too, was it gives us some room to say, hey, here's the costs. Um, Now, I will say we're not the cheapest beef around, right? We're not going to be the low cost option. Walmart's going to beat us, right? The guys doing 6,000 head a day are going to beat us every day on cost, right? But because we're going direct to consumer, from the consumer's perspective, we can be right down there, right? Like bottom third still with a much higher quality, right?
Mhm.
Which I think again, good for everybody except the distributor, right? Like that's p- people get high quality food at a good price, and we still make better margin than we would selling to a store. So it's
And at the end of the day, man, I mean, you're offering a premium product. You can't really expect to compete on cost with those that are just offering a suboptimal product.
yeah,
I face the same thing with the keto bricks. Like, we're not making Snickers bars here. If you want to pay a Snickers bar price, go buy a Snickers bar. Like,
right.
that's not us.
Which isn't
And
cheap anymore either, by the way. But yeah,
yeah, and like I'm totally sensitive to the cost of everything going up. Like, I don't
Mm,
want it to be a limiting factor by any means.
yeah,
But at the same time, food is not something that people should expect to skimp on. Like, that's something that demands and deserves quality, and a quality thing that costs a little bit more is money well spent, in my opinion. I mean, I practice what I preach in that. Like, I spend money on quality food because I can feel good about eating it. I know what it's going to do to my body from a compounding standpoint over time, and the health of my kids from a longevity standpoint, and from an epigenetic standpoint. Like, I
yeah.
think putting the emphasis on quality is the most selfless thing we can do when it comes to what we eat.
It was a shock for me. I spent a couple months end of last year in Southeast Asia, and it was a shock for me being there. I was doing an exercise program. I was at this really interesting thing with network state and there with for work. I was doing some work with cryptocurrencies and stuff. And so the guys I was with, they were doing this like exercise program and meal plan. I was there in Southeast Asia, so I'm eating like lentils and boiled chicken, right, on most weekdays. But then the weekends I would eat whatever from restaurants down in Southeast Asia, and I was not eating at high end restaurants. I was eating kind of low end stuff, right? But it shocked me. I dropped like 25 pounds in 2 months
Wow.
without. I mean, this is like an hour of exercise a day. It's not crazy. I was already working out about that much here at home, right? And granted, I started walking a little more because I was around. So the walking was part of it. But in my opinion, the biggest part was I just wasn't eating American foods, right? American
Mm-hmm.
foods chock full of garbage, right? So that was one of the reasons why I came back. We bought this in June of this year, right? So when I came back and we bought that, that's again part of what kicked me into health foods was I'd always known what you just said, that like it's important to feed your body well and like there's compounding effects. Like that was intellectually in my head, but I hadn't experienced that viscerally until I left the country for a couple of months. And I was like, oh man, I'm living so much better. And I'm eating like pan oil fried garbage on the weekends. And this should not be better. And it is dramatically better, right? It was very eye opening to me to be like, oh, yeah, having clean food really, really makes a difference. So we're trying to, that's the same thing with us. We're as a family, we're trying to do that a lot more. Be a lot more careful with what we're buying, how we're buying, when we're buying. And my oldest is 11, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's really important as she's going into puberty, right? I have a girl and then 5 boys and another girl. And so they're, my sons range from 9 to 2. And they're, as they're growing, just, those compounding effects become more and more important, right? Like,
Especially at this chapter of their lives, man, when their brain's developing, like it's so important.
yeah,
And we all, like you said, intellectually know that to be true, but we don't recognize it to the extent that it motivates us to change action.
yeah,
But like once you know, and you can't
yeah,
deviate. I mean, it's just like this is so paramount. You
yeah,
give it the attention it's due. And I mean, the thing about the food, I mean, we vote with our dollar and how we spend money. And I get like when you look at it from a sheerly, biological standpoint, like human beings should eat quality animal fats and proteins.
yeah,
Like that's going to be the most nutrient dense option, hands down, no questions asked. Like that's a species appropriate diet.
yeah,
And then when you check that box, okay, I'm going to commit to eating quality fats and proteins from animals.
mhm,
It's like, okay, where do I want to get that from? Do I
right,
want to support the conventional feedlot system that is inhumane towards the animal and there's no emphasis placed towards quality, or do I want to know my local farmers and ranchers, or know a company like yourself that's operating at a slightly larger scale but is able to do so the right way? It's like 100% worth every penny.
I completely agree. And that's a good point. You mentioned um, fats and proteins. Can I just put a big plug in for butter and tallow?
Go for it.
I mean, because we don't sell butter, so we're not on the dairy side at all. But if anybody on your podcast is still eating margarine, please stop. Just switch to butter. Pay
Mhm.
extra, whatever it is per pound. Switch to butter. Your body will thank you. I mean, it is a dramatic difference. My wife grew up eating margarine, right? And so for our marriage, it was a long battle for me to switch her over to butter, right? But now that she has, kind of again with this whole in the past year or two, she's like, you're right. Butter is better, right? It's just a better fat and protein, a better fat for us. It tastes better, it cooks better. We feel better, right?
Well, our body recognizes it like on a cellular level. Like if you
Yeah.
look at the ingredient list on a package of butter, it's, natural creams and some have salt in them for salted butter. But it's
Exactly.
like you look at a packaging label list for margarine, it's like this chemical concoction shitstorm with 30 ingredients on there. It's like, yeah, my body doesn't recognize all those things.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about the anybody knows Crisco, like shortening, right? That was machine lubricant. If I
Hmm.
remember right. It's rapeseed oil, right?
Hmm.
That's we dress up nicely, but it's is that what's called in America? In Sweden, it's called rapeseed oil, but I don't know what's
Yeah. Yeah. I think so yeah, you're right. It's made from rapeseed. I think they changed the name. Oh
canola.
shoot.
It's canola. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
canola oil is what they call it now, like mainstream, but it is rapeseed.
Yeah. Just,
But it's like,
no one would buy it. It was called rapeseed oil. That's
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, that's not. And there's a lot of people in this space that are, they'll point to studies that show that there's no benefit to the vegetable oils and things of that nature. But all of that aside, maybe that is true. Like I want to consume a more ancestrally consistent diet with things that are produced and manufactured and made in a way that I can recognize and is tangible. I mean, anything is technically processed. And when you skin open a deer and you're cutting the quarters,
Yeah.
that is processed.
Yeah, for sure.
But that to me is a hell of a lot more recognizable than some of the other things that are getting concocted.
For sure. Well, one of the things we got coming down the pike, some of them are still secrets. I can't share all of them, but I'm trying to help. I've been going through our family's foods and finding where we have soybean oil, right? Because again, I find that I put on weight faster when I eat soybean oil. Sauces, especially like ranch dressing, is like soybean oil, right? There's a lot of soybean in there. Mayonnaise has a lot of soybean stuff in it, unfortunately, right? I don't like mayonnaise anyway, but even so, right? So I've been trying to eliminate, okay, where are the things that disagree with my body coming into my diet, right? Or into our family's diet. So one of the things we're working on, and it competes with butter a little bit, but if you haven't cooked with tallow, I want to recommend everybody listening, try cooking with tallow. It adds good tallow doesn't make you smell like a fry chef, right? Like good tallow does not add a smoky, beefy flavor. It adds a umami flavor, a little bit of umami, but it really intensifies other meat. So, for example, when we first bought the meat company, we experimented with cooking our pork steaks in tallow. And this is not for the company. This is just when we brought them home and cooked them, right, to eat. And goodness, we had taste test comparisons of here's a pork steak cooked in tallow, here's a pork steak cooked in butter, here's a pork steak cooked in, the little kitchen spray stuff, which is canola oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a marked difference. You get a much better, much meatier flavor, not a beef flavor, but meatier, like a more pleasant pork flavor on a pork steak cooked in tallow than a pork steak cooked in butter or canola oil, right? You don't need to add fats to something like bacon. And the only way I think you could improve it on it is maybe if you're using bacon grease. But bacon grease is smoky and does have a very distinctive flavor. So, right, like if you're cooking with bacon grease, it's going to taste like bacon, which, let's be honest, that's not usually a bad thing, right? But like sometimes you don't want it to taste like bacon. So if you're cooking any meats, chicken cooked in tallow, goodness, right? Like,
And tallow, so tallow, you can make that from 100% suet, or you can make it from carcass fat and suet. But like suet is the second highest source of stearic acid, second to cacao butter. So that's the reason we use both of those fat sources in our keto bricks, because I want to target the stearic acid, because there's a whole host of benefits that come with that. So tallow is great from a multitude of standpoints.
Yeah. And here I will do a small plug for Homestead Beef. The tallows we're selling currently is it's called dry process. We don't add water to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only from, I think it's called that leaf fat. It's that suet. It's right around the kidneys. The hard.
So the leaf litter is for the leaf litter is basically the pork's equivalent to a beef's kidney fat, suet.
Okay, so let's leave that off then. So I was mixing things up. I apologize. We're only using the beef off of the kidneys on a cow. The tallow. Mm-hmm. That's the way we're getting our fat. We're not using the trimmings fat. We're just using the
so 100% suet. Yeah,
100%
perfect.
suet. Yeah. For all of the tallow we're cooking, and all we do for processing the tallow, we cut it out of the cow. And if anybody's cut anything open, there's stuff in. There's veins and stuff that go through all of the body, right? That's how it delivers blood to it. So you don't want, if you see something that's unstrained, I would pause because you do want it to be strained, but we mechanically strain it, right? We literally put it in a kettle, cook it up render it until it's liquid, pour it through a strainer, once or twice, a physical strainer, right? This is no weird mechanical construction. This is like your kitchen sieve, right? We pour through it, catch any of the stuff that's still around, right? Like, and usually again, that's like veins and arteries. If there's any other tissue in there, like cartilage or something in there that didn't break down when we render it, it'll catch it in the sieve. Pour through it twice, and then that's it. That's a tallow. And like, again, we're at the scale where that's the most efficient way for us to do it. And that also, I think, is the healthiest way to do it, because we're not introducing anything weird. It is literally just beef fat that we've cooked out, we've turned into a liquid and put in a jar. Done. Right.
That's what you want right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, like, even me not knowing anything about the industry, I can get what that is. Right. There's no weird stuff happening. And so, and it tastes great. It is a much better, again, much healthier, much more filling. One thing that surprised me when I was doing that weight loss thing last year, and then this year, I put some of that weight back on. I got to work on some of this stuff, right? But one of the things that surprised me was how much more satisfying, satiating it has been to eat high quality fats and proteins. Like 6 ounces of a really good steak is a lot more filling than 16 ounces of really shoddy hamburger, right?
Mhm.
And even that's a lot more filling than 40 ounces of something, potato chips.
Mhm.
So there's that quality piece you're talking about actually supports weight loss, in my experience.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, like, this is, this kind of goes back to the quality ketogenic, well-formulated keto carnivore diet. It's like you're going to have much less blood sugar volatility when you're eating quality fats and proteins, independent of hyperpalatable processed carbohydrates and sugars for sure. And then with that increased stability in blood sugar, you're going to get more accurate hunger signaling cues. So you're not as prone to overconsume. And from a micronutrient standpoint, you're going to hit those thresholds much sooner because you're eating more nutrient dense foods, which is going to, again, send signals of legitimate satiety. So
Yeah.
way better all around.
Yeah, 100%. And again, you guys know about this a lot more than I do. I'm less than a year into all this, right? I'm still learning and growing, but it has been a shock to me, a very pleasant surprise to me, a very positive surprise to me. Like, oh, yeah, my body just works better now. Like, I will say, I mentioned I put on some weight. I've also doubled my personal max on the bench and on some of the other exercises I've had since I came home from Southeast Asia.
Some of that weight's muscle, which is a good
Some
thing.
of that weight's muscle. Yeah, I won't say all of it is. Like I can't claim all of that, but some of it, like I have better definition across my shoulders are bigger. I bought this shirt when I was in Southeast Asia. I was in Thailand, and the sleeves didn't used to be tight around my bicep, and now they are, right? Which is like, Robert, I've seen your picture. I can't compete with you on any kind of bottle. I'm not even gonna try, right? But for somebody who was kind of chubby before, that's been a really nice change, right? That's been,
Heck yeah, man.
yeah, a huge.
And it goes way beyond just the cosmetics of it. Like the more muscle you have, the better your bone density is going to be. The better from a longevity standpoint you're going to be. The more insulin sensitive you'll be. The higher your metabolic rate.
Yeah.
The better you'll be able to age and provide and serve those around you as you get older. Like everybody wins.
Yeah, yeah. It's just better all around. So it comes to the, eat good meat, right? Like go have good meals. Yeah. On the business side, it's been fun. It's been interesting because I reached out to you, Robert, probably I said about 2 months ago as we first started talking. I want to say,
Yeah, I believe so.
yeah. And I mentioned it's been a wild ride in those 2 months because the price of beef has gone up dramatically in that time. I'm not going to quote a number and get it wrong because my ops guy will throw something at me. But I mean, we see the price of beef rise from I want to say it was on average like $6 a pound across the industry to like $10 a pound across the industry now. I mean, just it's been a massive increase in the past 6 months since we bought the meat processing plant. So one of the things I want to mention, if I can plug for Homestead, getting a subscription, we can't lock in the price forever, but we will lock in the price for a time, right? So if you buy a quarter from us on a subscription, that at least get you 6 months worth at that price. So you can have a little bit of, we'll eat some of that price volatility in the market for our customers to help them. And so you can guarantee a little bit plan. And we notify all our customers on subscription, like, hey, the price is changing. Here's how. And ours is percentage based. So if the price comes down, we'll also lower our price again. That's not, we're not just going to stick at people forever, right? That's not how it works. So homesteadmeatcompany.com is where people can buy subscriptions, get shipping done. Shipping was a whole animal.
Things are beast, man.
Things are beasts. I mean, from the keto bricks, right? We turns out that all the major shipping companies, when they say 2-day guaranteed, that's not true. They don't actually guarantee if you read the fine print. It has to be next day. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Fair. So we had to figure that out. We had a couple of shipments come. I mean, if you remember when we first started talking, I was like hyper worried the beef had gotten to you, the steaks had gotten to you in time so you could have them. Well, that's the week before I'd had our first sample 8 go out, and it was supposed to arrive in 2 days. It took 5 to show up, and it was like it showed up at 100 degrees. Right. And I was like, please don't eat that. We'll send you a new set. Like, stop. Don't. No, please stop. No. Right. Don't get sick from our beef. Right. I could have been out for 5 days in a, I won't shame the shipping company that did this, but in the shipping company's truck. Right.
Yeah.
Just rotting. Right.
I mean, we like, I feel fortunate because the bricks are shelf stable. So like the worst that would happen is that they would be totally liquid and you have to just pop them in the fridge. But like shipping companies, I mean, I don't really know a better solution, but like if you have to keep it cold storage and use dry ice, that's super expensive.
Yeah.
And shipping companies, I mean, they pretty much increase their shipping cost like on a 6-month basis, like clockwork. So like their rates keep going up no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one we, And that's when we struggle to eat that. We're kind of going back and forth. We offer free shipping or just pass through the costs. So we're still figuring that piece out. Right now we're passing through. So the shipping price is just the shipping price, and we don't make any money on that. We're just like, hey, we want to get it to you, right? Surprisingly, one of the things that's helped us is we're shipping. So when we first did that first week of tests, right, and we're sending things out, we had to figure out, okay, what boxes work, how much ice we need to put in there per package, how far do we go? We have to do that 1 day guaranteed. So it shows up the next day guaranteed, and we get insurance on it. So if something screws up, we can refund the customer or send out another box of meat. So because again, the whole point is healthy food, right? So if it shows up unhealthy, and there's no point, right?
Right.
So that was something that was kind of an interesting piece of this. The other one that was interesting was just our processing equipment. And again, we don't have any crazy processing equipment. We have like a meat grinder and slicing machines and so forth. But packaging is actually the hard part. For the packaging in plastic, everybody packages in plastic because it does help keep food out of the pathogens out, right? Plastic is a great thing as long as you're not putting acid into it, right? But how you package in plastic actually guarantees changes what you can package. So right now our beef sticks are about 12 inches long, and they're about the size of a nickel around. So they're hefty, right? And usually about 1 pound packages, 4 or 5 beef sticks in 1 pound package. And that's a limitation of our previous packaging equipment. We couldn't do smaller because you have a different kind of equipment that would package something smaller. So you could have a beef stick like a Slim Jim, right? Which is 3 to 6 ounces in a little single package thing. So one of the things we're upgrading is, well, I don't know about you. You may have gathered from before that like self-control with food, something I'm still working on. So if I buy a package of a pound of beef sticks and I'm driving home, I'm probably eating a pound of beef sticks, right?
I'm totally guilty of that, man.
which
But if it's quality beef stick, I'm cool with it.
It's a great beef stick, but at the end of it, I'm like, man, I just ate a pound of beef stick, and I probably needed, 1 beef stick instead of a pound. Right? So one of the things we're working on is getting that new packaging machines so that we can have a wider variety of options. So if you want a single beef stick in a shelf-stable single beef stick in a vending machine, that's very different than a refrigerator package of a pound of beef sticks, that are a foot long, right? So it's been surprising to me how much, like, what I would think of as very product level, even nutritional decisions are pushed by what can your equipment do, right? Like the actual processing limitations. And so this is where you get like the guys who are doing. Let me back out. Would your listeners be interested in the inspection process? What goes into that? Is it?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'd be interested without a doubt.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go into that a little bit. Because when you kill an animal in the processing world, you have an inspection. You kill the animal. How you kill the animal determines what you can do. So we use a gun, frankly, a special kind of gun, but we shoot the animal in the head right after it's brought in and immobilized. And that's
what kind of, I'm curious.
I mean, honestly, the gauge it's like a 22 basically, but it's a special 22 that you can use really close, so it's not gonna blow back or bounce. But we do that because it's very fast, right? The only better way to do that is a lot more complex, and you stun the animal.
Bolt stun.
Yeah, bolt stun, exactly. You can stun them and knock them out basically, and then kill them. But that shows up in the animal's meat. There's stress hormones. If you kill the animal badly, it releases a bunch of stress hormones as it dies, and kind of ruins the meat. Frankly, it comes through in the flavor, right? If an animal has been mistreated, it dies in terror. That's not good, right? That's bad.
Cortisol doesn't taste very good.
What's that?
Cortisol doesn't taste very good.
No, it doesn't. It truly doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't. I will also, not to get either of us in trouble, there are some. How spicy can I be on this, Robert? I don't want to get you in trouble, but how?
I mean, you can be as spicy as you want to be, man.
Okay, I will never process halal meat. Never ever.
Halal meat?
Yeah. It's like, kosher for the Jewish faith?
Yeah.
There's something similar for the Muslim faith called halal, if I remember correctly. Let me look that up. Make sure I got that right.
I'm not well versed in that. So what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, it's prepared according to Islamic law, and it's supposed to be a humane slaughter method. But the guys who work in halal meat are like, Brett, the animal's basically still alive while we're cutting it up. Like, we don't do that. So maybe I've just been misinformed because I've never performed halal slaughter. So maybe I'm misinformed, but I don't want the animal screaming at me as I'm cutting off a steak, right? Like that's that.
I mean, I'm a hunter as well as a homesteader. So my goal is to, dispatch that animal as effectively and efficiently and humanely as possible, so they never even know the difference.
Exactly. Like it should be, I'm eating and then I'm in heaven. Like that's it, right? Like that's as far as the animal's perspective it should be that, right? And so we look at the stuff from what's the girl? She was super good with animals and she developed all the.
Yeah, because I believe she was autistic,
You're
right?
correct.
And she was super sensitive
Careful,
to.
Grandin.
Yeah, but it's like she developed the technology that holds the animal to make them feel safe and secure.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. It makes their passing a lot more clean. That she invented the chute
Hmm.
setups that we use now, so that the animals aren't scared because they're not seeing animals have them get killed, right?
Hmm.
Which I mean, we're still killing animals, but I would rather their last moments be pleasant, right? I know, like exactly like you're saying with the hunter, as little pain as possible. So I'm getting off track, but that's so when we kill the animal, we try to kill it as quickly and cleanly and as humanely as we can, right? And in our case, we use a bullet, and then we cut it up. Um, we you cut the animals. Kill the animal, and you cut off its head, and you turn it over and cut it down the chest, right? Essentially the bottom, and you have to peel back the hide, and then you can start cutting the animal. Now, again, my slaughter floor guys are probably groaning as I'm saying that because I'm not on the slaughter floor pretty much ever. So like, don't that's not gospel. But I bring it up because in that process, there's an inspector who's there watching all of that, right? To make sure, and what they're looking for in the inspection is the room clean, right? Are you cleaning your tools appropriately, right? Are you introducing pathogens into the meat, or from inside the animal to the meat, or from outside the animal to the meat? Right? Are you keeping everything separate and clean and separated? Right? Are you when you hang it? Are you hanging it correctly so you're not introducing pathogens from the hooks? Are you keeping insects out of the facility altogether? Right? Are you keeping is it clean in a lot of different ways? As part of that cleanliness, we have to put together what are called HACCP plans. And HACCP
Hmm.
is a long acronym that I can look up. But the HACCP plan basically says you have to think through all the different ways that you could have a problem and all your specific counters to that. And sometimes you just have to say, like, we accept that this is a risk, right? If the animal is sick coming in, there's going to be sickness in the animal coming in, right? We can't purge that somehow, right? Um, but we can also not sell it, right? If there's a
Hmm.
real problem with the animal. So one of our HACCP plans is like, if there's a real problem with the animal we discovered during slaughter, um, then we don't. I mean, we have to say we can't sell this. We can't finish slaughtering this. I mean, we talk to the rancher and say, "I'm sorry, but this animal had these problems that made it so we couldn't process it for you." Right? I hear horror stories from the chicken processing industry where you get like, you know, cancer in the chicken or something, and there's ways to deal with that, right? So if we,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't want to try to stomach, but if there's something really wrong, our HACCP plan is just stop, right? Like don't proceed, clean up the space and get that cow out of there and clean up the space, right? It could be big, right? But that's at every step of the process. So that the animal's cut up, you peel back the hide. After you cut out the head, you start doing the basic cuts. You hang the animal. We have a pretty good system. Meat processing is known for being really hard on people's bodies. Like it's known for beating you up. One of the things that really drew me to this plant in particular was the previous owner had worked there for 50 years, right? Or 20, he owned it for 25 years. I think he worked there for a little longer. And he's in his 70s still working, cutting and doing all the stuff, right? And it had not destroyed his body. And that part of that's because he had a really good rack system and hook system. So there's only one step in our whole process where somebody has to lift up anything heavy over about chest level, right? Usually it's you hook up to a rack, you hook up to a chain and a hoist, and
Hmm.
the racks to the next table. You put it on the table, you cut it up, you move it along rollers on the next table. So it's all not people busting their backs and bodies to try to move things around, which really drew me to the industry, right? This particular processing plant, because it was like, I'm comfortable sending my sons to work there as they get a little bit older and get, as a business, for their experience. I'm not going to destroy their bodies having them work there when they're 16, right? Or 20,
Right.
whatever. So, but at every step of that process, from when the cow shows up from the farmer and goes into the chute, to the kill floor, to the processing floor, to any of the production. We call it production. That's when you turn it into sausages or package the different cuts and so forth, right? That's the production floor. To the freezer, to the front desk retail shop, to when people come and pick up foods. All of that has to be covered by HACCP plans, where we say, here's where the risks are coming. Here's how we're mitigating that, right? Now that sounds like a lot of bureaucracy, and it is. It's a lot of paperwork. It's pain. I won't lie. But that's also the difference between having some kind of certainty that the food you're eating is going to be not contaminated in a process versus the not fit for human consumption that's killing your farm, right?
Totally.
And again, you can roll the dice on not fit for human consumption. A good butcher is going to do a good job, period, right? Like I'm not knocking the guys who are doing on-farm slaughter. But that's why, but if I don't know you, I would rather know that there's some kind of system in place that's saying there are some controls here, right? Like there's a...
Yeah. If I like, as a consumer, if I'm filling my freezers with beef, I either want to know the legit rancher and how he does it, or know that it's got all the fundamental stuff in place and know that it's done to code and done the right way.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so I'm not a huge fan of government in general, but in this case, I think having the inspector there from Missouri, the state of Missouri, has been really positive because they're very collaborative. I don't know how it is in other states, but our guys at least are very helpful. So they'll say, hey, we are seeing this set, and this sample is not out of bounds, but you're trending somewhere. Like, consider this, right? We've had three samples in a row that are this way. Actually, that would be out of bounds, so I can't even say that. But like, hey, this number is closer to the boundary. Let's inspect that before it goes over the line, right? Or, hey, the inspector's there to make sure you're doing it right, right? And so for example, you don't cut. There's an order between pigs and beef. You can cut beef and then pigs, but not pigs and then beef, because there's different pathogens, right? And so you don't want to introduce pig pathogens into pork, but beef pathogens, or pig pathogens into beef. You can introduce beef pathogens into pork without any trouble. And so really how that's done, if you do sheep at all, sheep are a whole different thing. We do sheep occasionally, but not very often. But if you do sheep at all, that's a whole different setup because they have a different pathogen set that has to be treated, you have to clean the plant differently. It was funny because again, I'm squeamish. I don't do well with blood, period, right? Like, building up to being able to give blood to the Red Cross was a huge personal milestone for me, right? So I tried to do that. But that's, so when I first came to the plant when I was considering buying it, I was like, man, I was expecting to go in and come out and vomit and then go back in and finish, the inspection, right? And because I was expecting Victorian video game horror video games level of stuff. I was gonna walk in, as we creepy, there's blood everywhere, as you'd be like, that's what I was thought going into this, right? Not at all. I walked in, I'm in where I'm right now, right? I was wearing a button-down shirt and khakis and nice shoes. I'm walking through a meat plant, so that was me being dumb first. It's like just not being no what I was doing in the industry. But I started a meat processing plant, like, dressed like that, because I've just been meeting with a business broker too, and so we went over it. But I walk in, and it was as clean or cleaner than your grocery store meat counter, right?
Yeah.
Like, you walk through the meat department at Schnucks, and there's meat in packages, and there's lights, and you can see there's cellophane packages and stuff, but it doesn't feel dirty. It doesn't feel gross.
I mean, a quality processing facility shouldn't really look any different than your kitchen counter at home.
A lot cleaner than my kitchen counter at home.
Yeah. Well, I guess depending on how clean your kitchen counter is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when I came in, it was actually really nice. I mean, all the guys are I have all our guys in white coats, like they almost look like lab coats, but they're like white coats for the cutting floor uniform, right? We clean up the floor on a cadence, so it's washed down really consistently, right? The walls and stuff are all coated, so we can clean them off and make sure there's no pathogen or mold growth or any bacterial growth on the walls or the floor. And so it feels more like walking through, it's obviously we're killing animals, but it feels more like a lab than it feels like a horror movie, right? Like, there was none of that negative stuff. And so I walked through, I was like, oh, this is actually really nice. This is actually really cool to see, like, oh, that's where my steak comes from, right? This is the rest of the process. And it was really nice because, like, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s, there was that whole bunch of movies with like the movie Serving, like, yeah, like, it makes you never want to go to a restaurant ever, right?
Yeah.
It's like disgusting completely. And so there are nasty things in the food industry for sure, but it was great to be able to go and say, but I'm not part of that nastiness, right? This is something we're doing that is clean and wholesome. And like, yeah, I'm literally tying my family's future to this, right? Financially, nutritionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. like across the board. Yeah.
And then when you bring out the traceability component, you can maybe do the same thing for your consumers because they're going to have the full circle of life, illustration, which I think is great. And that's why I hunt, because I want to be able to complete that circle of life the way we as a species have done since our existence.
Yeah.
That's important, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that circle of life, one of the things we're looking forward to is just using all the animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think there's some, there are nose to tail guys that are really big into like eating cow lips and stuff, which is fine. If people are up for that, that's awesome. We're trying to make sure we don't waste any of the cow. And so the previous owner was just selling the primal cuts, and then he didn't have buyers for the rest of it. And so a lot of it was going to a compost heap, which is like makes my heart hurt because there's a lot of nutrition in the cow that was going to waste, right? And so one of the things we're working on is how can we bring really healthy products to people that are so we don't waste parts of the cow. So we're looking at, these are not available yet. Just for the record, full disclosure, not on the website yet. We have 326 products on the website. So homesteadmeatcompany.com, go there, see what we actually sell. But things that we're coming forward to, we're looking at things like how can we make bone broth, right? How can we use the bones? Maybe we can do bone broth and sell that in a way that's, again, traceable, clean, sustainable. How can we make something like we have all these beef hearts and beef livers that we're not using currently. Can we make those into a product that's shelf stable, right? Can we tabletize those or freeze dry them or sell them directly or whatever, right? So I'm talking.
You don't need to talk shop, man. I need to just I need to come out there and see your operation. I need to put pen to paper and talk business for a bit.
Yeah, please. In fact, if you want to come down and videotape it, I'll give you a tour and we can do if you want to do another episode. If your viewers aren't going to get bored, that'd be.
No, 100%, man. I feel like any of the people listening to this, value quality food, and they ideally want to know where that food's coming from. So I would 100% love to come see the operation.
Please.
I mean, you're in Missouri, so you're not far from me at all, man.
Yeah, you're in northern Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Fayetteville.
Oh, okay.
What is that like? How many hours is that from you?
I want to say it's like 6. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a day trip.
Yeah, yeah. We're in the Midwest. We drive everywhere. Yeah. That's yeah, please. We'll set that up. That'd be great. But yeah, so we're looking at all the things like that. How can we waste as little of the cow as possible, right? So I'm talking to actually some Asian markets and some Latino markets to say, hey, most of our direct customers aren't buying cow lips, but you guys are selling cow lips. Do you want to sell ours? I mean, up to including like pork skins and beef skins.
Yeah.
We're looking at some other companies to try our hides, so we don't waste those hides, right? And it's funny because some of the things we're getting rid of right now are really valuable. Like oxtail is pricey, right? And we're throwing.
It's delicious.
And it is delicious. Yeah, like oxtail
in like an instant pot, man.
Yeah.
So good.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Have you ever had lengua tacos?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds a lot better than cow tongue, but like, yeah, like.
I mean, it tastes like it. Honestly, has the same texture as like shredded barbecue pork.
Exactly.
Like it. Very similar, and it's most people discard it, but it tastes amazing.
It does. It's awesome. I'm not a tripe guy. I'll admit I've tried tripe a couple times. Not my favorite, but some people like tripe. Right? We can do that.
I eat it all, man. Like okay, I literally eat it all.
Nice.
Testicles, everything. 100%.
Okay. Nice. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So we're exploring that too. So to make it a little bit more accessible, a little bit more. Yeah, because it's to me that's part of like this is gonna sound super hippy dippy. But like respect for the animal, right? If we're killing the animal, let's not waste them, right? I believe the animal should be eaten, no question there. But if I'm gonna eat an animal, let me not squander its life, right? Like that's
That's not hippy dippy, man. That's just good moral codes to live by.
Okay,
like if you take a life, respect the life.
Thank you.
And make use of it. We do not throw out food in our house. Like every morsel gets consumed, and. Like since I am a hunter, like when we went elk hunting in Colorado last year, I backpacked that freaking elk, 3 miles down a mountain. It's a lot of hard work. The last thing I want to do is throw something away. Like I'm making every use of it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, Robert, I gotta ask you, where are you hunting this year? Are you coming up closer to us or to down in Arkansas?
Mostly this year will be Arkansas. We had another child born this year as well. So like my out west extended hunting trips will probably be pushed to next year, but I'll definitely be out and trying to get some venison in the freezer this year for sure.
Nice. Yeah. So one of the things we brought back this year, the previous owner had stopped doing deer processing about 4 years ago. I guess last year was 2019, so 6 years ago. Goodness. Because it's just a lot of work in November. But so we just had our deer season here in Missouri start up last weekend. And so we're in the thick of deer processing right now. We brought deer.
Are y'all doing deer too?
Yeah, we're doing deer as well. Yeah.
Man, I need to come check y'all out 100%.
Yeah, please come on up. That'll be fun. But yeah, it's fun. Well, and what's nice too, one of the things again that pulled me to this company was the previous owner's recipes are awesome. So he had won state wide competitions for beef sticks and sausage and snack sticks and some other things, right? So you had like award-winning recipes that came with the product, right? They came with the company.
Mm-hmm.
We don't screw up a good thing. We keep all that going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so really our like summer sausage, I would put up against anybody. And our snack sticks, like tooting my own horn a little bit, but legitimately better than anything else I've tasted in the country. Like I've driven it all around for work. Before I bought this place, I was looking at buying a place in South Dakota. And so I was up there and driving back and forth through Minnesota and all over the place, right? From St. Louis and out to Utah and so forth. And I'd stop and get beef sticks all along the way and try to buy local beef sticks. Ours are better. It's like I'm biased, but ours are better, frankly.
Well, I mean, again, just to toot your horn for you, the ribeyes that you sent that I ate, I mean, they were damn good, man. Like I've eaten a lot of steaks, you know, I've got a pretty good pulse on what a good steak tastes like, and it was on up there, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's I'm proud of my Missouri farmers, right? They have really good beef, and I'm proud of the operation we bought. That's they have really good recipes and really good ways of processing it. So yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, come on out. We'll take care of you.
100%, man. Sign me up for sure.
Awesome.
I can sit here and talk to you for 2 hours probably, but I got another call coming up, man. So Brett, where do people go to find out more about you, order some good eating meat, and keep learning and diving deeper?
Thanks. Yeah, homesteadmeatcompany.com is gonna be the best. Just homesteadmeatcompany.com. I know that's a kind of a mouthful, but that will get you to our web store. And Robert, I believe we have a code for you too, that your listeners can get a discount. Is that correct? Did we set that up for you?
Yeah, I believe you did. I don't remember what it was.
Let me look for that just now so we can get that to your guys' codes. Here we go.
I haven't used it yet myself, so I don't even know either off the top of the head.
I gotcha. Well, we'll get that taken care of. Tell you what,
Savage or something probably.
yeah, here it is. Keto Savage. That's right. Just one word. Keto Savage, capital K, capital S. Keto Savage. That'll get people up to $100 off their beef subscriptions. So if you want to buy that subscription on beef or hog, they'll get up to $100 off, depending on what size subscription they buy. And those subscriptions come every 3 to 6 months. You can choose every 3 months or every 6 months. Give me an eighth, give me a quarter, give me a half. And on the website, we show like an eighth is a really good fit for a family of 2 to 4. Quarter is going to be for a family of like 6 to 8, and half is going to be for a family of 8 or more, probably. Every 3 months. If you do every 3 months, that changes, right? But my family's pushing somewhere between a quarter and half at this point. That's